Hello, welcome to another episode of Unhindered Faith. What if I told you the biggest cover up in history happened in less than 24 hours? You see, a man was arrested, rushed through a series of hearings, handed over to a political power, publicly executed, and then buried before most people even knew what happened. And the question is, why the rush? Why the urgency? And what were they trying to hide? You see, when we talk about Easter, we usually jump from the Last Supper straight to the cross and then to an empty tomb. But when you slow down and look at the timeline, something stands out. Everything moved fast. You see, Jesus was arrested at night. He was questioned through the night. He was tried early in the morning, sent to Pilate, then sent to Herod, sent back to Pilate, condemned, crucified, and buried before sunset, all in a compressed window. And when something moves that fast, it makes you ask this question: what were they afraid of? You see, Scripture actually lays this out for us. We actually get this clue early in Jesus' story, and we find this in John chapter 11. This is after Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. The religious leaders say this, that has stood out to me. If we let him, in other words, Jesus, if we let Jesus go on like this, everyone will believe in him. That's the issue. Not that Jesus was doing wrong, but that he was revealing truth. And truth was threatening their system, the religious system. So Jesus is arrested in the garden at night, right? The arrest happened in darkness. That matters. This wasn't public. It wasn't transparent. This wasn't done in front of the crowds. And why? Because the crowds had seen too much. You see, they had seen the miracles. They've seen the healings. They've seen the authority of Jesus. They heard the truth. And if they arrested Jesus in the open, there's risk. So they moved in the dark. And here's the principle. When people can't defeat truth in the light, they will try to move against it in the dark. And if this happens today, if this was to take place in today, people would be asking, why at night? Why the secrecy? Why not in public? Because secrecy protects agendas. You see, the process was rushed because Jesus was exposing too much. Jesus wasn't just teaching, he was exposing things. He exposed religious pride, empty traditions, hypocrisy, a system built on control instead of surrender. He flipped tables in the temple. He challenged leaders publicly. He welcomed people the system rejected. And every time he did, he revealed something dangerous. That religion can exist without relationship. That's what they were trying to protect, not truth. Their version of it, if Jesus keeps going, more people believe, more people question, more people see what's really happening. So they had to move fast. They weren't just trying to stop a man. They were trying to stop a movement. But religious power alone wasn't enough. So they brought the political power into the picture. You see, politics finished what religion started. When Jesus stands before the religious leaders, the charge is spiritual. Their charge was blasphemy. But when he's brought before Pilate, the charge changes. Now it's political. Why? Because they knew what would work. This wasn't about justice. This was strategic. They adjusted the story to get the outcome they wanted. Pilate doesn't seem convinced Jesus deserves death, but pressure builds. The crowd pushes, the system moves, and truth gets buried under influence. And here's the reality. When people are more committed to protecting their position than pursuing truth, injustice follows. And then everything moves to the final stage. They tried to close the story quickly. You see, Jesus was crucified, and before day is over, he's placed in a tomb, stone rolled in front, and then sealed. From a human perspective, case closed, problem solved, story over. But here's the irony. What they thought would bury the truth actually set the stage for the greatest revelation in history. Because you can bury a body, but you can't bury the Son of God. What were they really trying to cover up? So what was the real cover-up? Not just Jesus. It was what he exposed. He exposed their fear, their pride, their control, their blindness. And here's the hard truth. They didn't recognize God when he was right in front of them. And that can still happen today. You see, you can know church, you could speak the language, you could show up every week and still miss Jesus. So let me ask you, is there anything in your life that Jesus is trying to expose that you're resisting? Because the danger isn't just what happens back then. The danger is repeating it now. Rejecting truth, protecting comfort, holding on to control. You see, they rushed him. They silenced him. They buried him. But they didn't stop him. Because 3 days later, 3 days later, Jesus got up. They covered up. The cover-up didn't work. You see, the grave didn't hold. The truth came out. And that's why Easter matters. What man tried to hide, God revealed. What man tries to kill, God raised. And if there's anything in your life that feels buried, don't lose hope, because Sunday is coming. Sunday is coming. What stands out most about the final 24 hours before the cross is something that only God can reveal. And here's what I'm asking you in the comments. What stands out? In the last 24 hours of Jesus, and in the last 24 hours before the cross, what stands out most to you in the story? You see, we talk a lot about the arrest, and we talk a lot about the cross, and we talk a lot about the empty tomb. But, living in a time where there's a lot of conspiracy theories that are out there and a lot of different things, you know what? I think the biggest cover-up and the biggest conspiracy theory is the story of Jesus. But you know what? Here's not a conspiracy theory. He brings freedom. So, the question is, I just want to encourage you, don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. And if there's anything in your life that feels buried, you know what? Sunday's coming. If this has encouraged you today, I just ask that you just like, subscribe, maybe share it with somebody who just needs to hear something unique, a different story about Easter. And just remember, what feels dead in your life, you can nail it to the cross because Jesus took it to the cross. And you could have life and have life to the fullest in a relationship with Jesus. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey of unhindered faith, because we serve a God who's not hindered by our situations. So I'm just on a journey of what it's like to live a life with unhindered faith. Love you and have a blessed week.